When I tell you that it is like my life's mission to make you understand that YouTube is not too saturated, that you are not too old, you are not too young, that you do have something to share on the internet, and that you can be a YouTuber if you want to, I am not even playing. So a few times a year, I go speak to high school classes, middle school classes, and talk about what I do as a YouTuber and how they can do it too, and like, you know, all of these things, answer questions, and it's super fun. And almost always my message when doing that is, hey, you don't have to be a YouTuber, but you also don't have to follow the traditional path. Like, I just need you to know that, because I wanted to be untraditional. I wanted to be like, not go to the corporate world and work my life away. And everybody told me it wasn't possible. And so if I can roll up in these schools and be like, you can do it, I love to do that. But every single time you can tell that somebody has told these children that they cannot do these things, or that they can't be a YouTuber, or that they can't be a podcaster, or whatever the scenario is. And so while in this video I want to talk about like the gear and the strategy and everything that you need as a new YouTuber, I want to take these few minutes here at the beginning to just say you can be a YouTuber. You can be whatever you want to be. And you not understanding tech, having a good camera, thinking that the platform is too saturated, thinking you're too old or you have nothing to share. None of those things are true. And if you want to be a YouTuber, you can be a YouTuber. So let's just get that out of the way first. All right, so now that we have your mindset right and you know you can be a YouTuber, what about your gear? Y'all, I am filming on a camera and a lens that cost more than my first car. But guess what? I don't need this, like at all. I don't need it. I've talked about this before. I just wanted this camera. I wanted it, and it was a business expense, and I bought it. And I do love it, for sure. And I love the other fancy, expensive cameras that I've bought throughout the years. However, I don't need any of them. I didn't need any of them. I needed this, and that was it. And at almost 200,000 subscribers, if I was still filming with this, I'd be fine. If I was filming with something like this, I would be fine. You don't need fancy equipment. And 99.9% of us can get away with filming on our phones. Now, there's some tricks to that. You want to film on the back camera, not the selfie camera, because this is way better quality. You want to make sure it's a newer phone so it has the better quality. But for the most part, that phone in your pocket could do a really good job at being the camera you use to create YouTube videos. But let's just run down a list of gear that you do actually need, and I'll talk about like budget options and not so budget options along with each one of them. So 1, you absolutely need a camera, 100%. I will list camera options below, but an iPhone or, you know, one of those weird Androids that, you know, probably has a decent camera too, can do the trick. This is a Sony ZV-1. It is a pocket camera, so you can't change lenses or anything, and it has beautiful quality. That camera you see right there above my monitor is a Canon M50. There is a new version now. It is mirrorless, it is 4K, it is amazing. And it is much, much cheaper than something like what I'm filming on. But obviously you can go with the big daddies. Okay, you can go with a Sony a7S III, or I have a Sony a7 IV, or whatever you want to do. But the biggest requirements of your camera are going to be that it records in 4K. Now, I'm going out on a limb and saying that, because my theory has always been just make sure that your content keeps up with the masses as far as the quality goes. You don't want your content so far down here compared to everybody else's. So in years past, I would always be like, make sure it records 1080p. But I was watching a video the other day, and I watch a lot of creators. Some of them are like super like techie, computery, camera-y people. Some of them are not. Some of them are vloggers, like whatever. But I could tell a stark difference between this other person's 1080p camera and all of the 4K content I had been watching. And so I would recommend you film on 4K. Now, cool part is, our phones do that too. If you're like, what the heck is 4K? Let me explain. There is an aspect ratio that we watch all of our content in. So like the rectangle you see me in right now, that has a certain ratio, right? The TV you watch has a certain ratio, a height and a length, okay? The phone you watch, like when you're watching it, has a certain ratio. And a 1080p camera is going to have way less pixels in that space than a 4K camera. A 4K camera is gonna have way less pixels than an 8K camera, okay? Your webcam that probably, films in like 720 is gonna have way less than 1080p. So the more you get up towards 4K, the better it is, because the more pixels there are in that picture, the better the picture quality is, the clearer, the more HD, that kind of thing. 1080p is technically HD, but 4K is really the way to go now. So I would recommend that you film in 4K in whatever you're filming on, and I would recommend that you do not ever, 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 ever use a webcam to film your videos, or the selfie camera of your phone, if you can help it. Preferably, we're always using the back camera or some kind of camera made for video. And again, let me just say, I'm gonna list a lot of camera options below. And I also want to clarify something, because this is something I got hung up on when I first started on YouTube, which all of y'all probably already know this, but I just want to clarify it just in case. I used to sell digital cameras, and they looked a lot like this, and it was like picture cameras, and they didn't really record video. And I also sold camcorders. So I worked at the photo lab in Walmart, and so I would sell digital cameras, and I would also sell camcorders, like the mom in the audience filming the dance routine, So I sold those. And so when I first started on YouTube, I was seeing all these people say to use a camera that looked like this, or one that looked like this. And these to me were photo cameras. And so that was really weird. But what's really cool is that most manufacturers of cameras these days are understanding that people need both video and photo in their camera bodies. So cameras are made for video more so than they used to be. That DSLR that you have sitting on the shelf probably isn't, but a mirrorless camera like this one or that Canon M50, those have been made for video. And like a camera like this, or my A7S III, which I'm filming on right now, they are hybrid. So they take really good photos, and they also take really good video. And that's one of the reasons I went with Sony, is because of how good they are both ways. Actually, I think Tom Buck just recently did a video about why nobody uses camcorders anymore. And I don't think I've watched it, but I need to, because yeah, I totally was confused there myself. And so I just wanted to clarify that. All right, next piece of gear you need. Next thing is lights. Now, this could be as simple as using natural lighting. Okay, you see how the light is like flying in my window here? I also have a window in front of me that you can't see, it's behind the camera, and I have curtains pulled because there was so much light that I looked like a little ghost. I looked like Casper, like flying around my office. But I use natural light 99.9% of the time when I film. And natural lighting is super cheap, obviously. Like, you just open the blinds, okay? Like, it's just there. But it can also be a little bit finicky. So sometimes our offices don't have a lot of natural lighting. Sometimes the light can be weird. So like, for instance, today, I needed to film and I wanted to sit here to film, and the sun is literally shining directly in this window. Let me actually just show you what it looks like without the curtain. See this? Yeah. That wasn't gonna work. So for me this morning, it was not gonna work for me to use natural light unless I sat here, and I didn't wanna sit here. So I have a couple of panel lights set up on my desk, because for me, that's what works best in my space. But you need some kind of lighting to light your video, because you need lighting in your videos. You're gonna look better, the content is gonna look better, all of it. I would say my best advice is to get in front of a window where the sun is not directly shining in like that is. But you can also use external lights, you can use ring lights, you can use umbrella lights, you can use big soft boxes, you can use panel lights like I'm using right now. And again, I will link all of them below in the description. But in some way, you need lights. Now, the third piece of gear that you need is a microphone. Now, I'll be completely honest, this is a struggle for most people. Like right here in my office, it's pretty echoey, and I had to switch to my top of camera mic because my lapel mic died. And so this video is more echoey than I would normally like for my videos to be, but honestly, it's good enough. It's better than what would have come out of the camera itself. But I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt that bad audio will just completely like obliterate your good quality video. So you need to have good audio. What's really awesome about this is that the audio built into our phones, if you're not too far away, awesome. The audio built into a camera like this, awesome. And there are really cheap top of camera options if you want to plug a mic in that's going to do a little bit better. There's options like the Rode Wireless Go or the DJI ones, which are wireless like lapel mics, but they're bigger like this, and you can plug a lapel into it, or you can just wear this. So for this one, I actually have like a magnet, and I will just wear it like under my shirt like that, so you can't even see it. Like on this black shirt, you can't even see it. But that's a good option. Plugging a standard like $12 lapel mic, and lapel is the ones that clip onto you, into your phone, because they make phone ones. Great option. There's just a ton of options there. So I'm gonna, again, link all of those in the description, but you need some kind of good mic. We're gonna switch gears now from the gear you need to the software you need. And honestly, it's super simple. I would make sure that you have 2 softwares. 1, an editing platform, and 2, a project management platform to keep you organized. Now, ClickUp is the sponsor of this video, so I'm going to talk about them in a second when we talk about project management softwares, but let's first talk about your editing software. You don't have to use nothing fancy, okay? It can be iMovie, it can be Filmora, it can be Camtasia, it can be CapCut on your phone. Like, it doesn't matter. Just use something that you can learn to use and works for you. If you need to edit on your phone, use a phone app. If you want to edit on a computer, use one of those. If you are really confused on editing, then use something like iMovie that's like super, super easy, and then move up to something else that you want to learn later. But overall, as a whole, you just need an editing software. Now, I said that you really needed 2 things, and the other one was a project management software. And let me tell you why you need a project management software. And by the way, just like anything else I've talked about, you don't have to use what I use. You can use whatever you want to use. But I use ClickUp and love ClickUp, and we'll talk more about ClickUp in a second, but I need you to understand why you need it first. When it comes to being a YouTuber, to creating content on the internet, consistency is like so key. You've got to be consistent. You've got to be releasing 1 video a week, 2 videos a week, whatever you're trying to do, right? And if you don't have a way to physically keep up with that and be like, I released this video on this date and this video on this date, and I'm planning this video for this date, it's gonna get really confusing, and you are not gonna be able to stick to that schedule. Not only that, but you could get really confused on what videos are at what stage of the process to getting actually published and out into the world. So for me, we have a lot of processes that we use when it comes to putting YouTube videos out. 1, I have to actually plan the video and plan it for a date and all of that stuff. We have to script it or do bullet points for it, which is what I do. Then it has to be edited. It has to be uploaded, optimized, all of that good stuff. We have to make a thumbnail. We have to make a graphic to share it on social media, and a lot of other little tiny steps in between. If I don't have somewhere set up to let me see where something is in the process, or to let me see like how far this video has gotten, or like whatever, I will not remember what video is where, and I also won't remember like, you know, when things need to go live or any of that. But in addition to that, when you're dealing with sponsors and things like that, there are dates that are involved, right? Like there are approval dates, there are, you know, go live dates, there are things you need to see from a sponsor. And if you don't have a place to keep all of that all bundled up, it's gonna get confusing really, really fast. I personally use ClickUp, who is the sponsor of this video. And what I do personally is I will go in and I will create a calendar view for my content calendars. So I have a different one for my podcast than I have for YouTube, but we might have one for a launch or for Instagram or whatever. But we do this on a calendar view, and then I can plan my content month to month, week to week, and see what is going on. So every single day, every single week, whatever, I can open up that calendar and I can see what videos are going live, what the topic is, or I can see that I haven't planned a video to go live, or I need to change things around, or that a sponsor needs to happen, or whatever. So for instance, on this video that you're watching right now, I had planned out the video and we already had it in the calendar. The dates that we were doing are 2 ClickUp sponsorships per month. And so I knew that in this video, I needed to talk about ClickUp because I had it in a system and it wasn't just living in here, because if it's living in here, you might as well throw it in the garbage. Not only does it help me keep up with dates and everything like that, but it helps me keep up with where my content is in the process of things. So we have different statuses set up in the content board. And so I know whether it's like in progress, which basically means I've started filming it, but I need some other parts or whatever, whether it needs to be edited, whether it needs to be uploaded. Like I can tell where all of these things are in the process because of a system like ClickUp. And what's really cool is in this whole video, I'm trying to make sure you have budget options as well as like, you know, not budget options. And you can try ClickUp for free if you go to heyjessica.com/ClickUp. But having a project management system is absolutely a non-negotiable when it comes to being a YouTuber because it's going to keep you on track. I see so many people who have been YouTubers for a really long time and like they started as YouTubers and like everything has just kind of grown, who do not keep up with their stuff like this. And they're constantly getting behind, they're constantly forgetting to film stuff, and they'll talk about it and be like, oh, I forgot to do that. I didn't know I was supposed to do that. Sorry I haven't showed up for 3 weeks. I forgot that I didn't have a video. So keeping a project management system like ClickUp can really help keep you organized, which is going to help you stay consistent, which is going to show YouTube that you're legitimate, which is going to help you grow the channel. All right, we've talked about gear, we've talked about software. Now let's talk about strategy. I need you to understand how important it is to be consistent as a brand new YouTuber. If YouTube doesn't know if they can trust you to release content on the regular, they don't want to share you with their audience because the whole algorithm is built in a way where it's trying to share the right content with the right person. And they want people to stay on the platform. They want people to keep watching. They want people to come back and binge and whatever. And if you're not creating content that they safely can say, hey, watch this person's content, it's awesome, but also they're gonna release videos like every week or whatever, they're not going to go out on a limb and do that. So especially in the very beginning of starting a channel and until you've really established your authority on YouTube, you really have to be consistent. So that's number one part of the strategy you need to understand. The second part of the strategy here is to learn how to trend hack. You can trend hack your competitors, people who are content creators like you, people who have channels similar to yours, and you can trend hack yourself. Now, I've done a whole video about trend hacking, so I'll make sure I link it above. But essentially what it means is this is doing really well for this person, whether that person is you or someone else you're watching. Let me do a similar type of video to that and see if it will be picked up by the algorithm too. Because the algorithm wants to continue showing people things they want to see. And if, creator A over here has done a video and it's doing really well, and the algorithm's like, man, I wish I had other videos like this one to show to these same people. If you pop that in the algorithm, they're probably going to show yours too. So learning how to see when you need to go after some type of trend or some type of topic because it's clearly doing well for your audience is going to be key to growing on the platform. The third part of the strategy that I need you to know is to be yourself on camera. The channels that are going to grow the fastest, the channels that are going to get the most views, the channels that are going to, do the best things are the channels where the creator is wholeheartedly themselves and they're bringing themselves into whatever content they're creating, whether it's business content or really focused content in some way. They're still bringing their personal lives and who they are into that content. Or if you're going to be like a vlogger or something like that, you are bringing you into your content. Be you, be authentic, and be a real human, not just a robot full of information. Fourth thing and last thing I'm going to talk about with strategy when you're getting started is to not sleep on thumbnails. Probably what's going to happen is you're going to do a bunch of research and you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I need to do titles and I need to think about keywords and I need to look at tags and blah, blah, blah. And somebody's going to tell you that you need thumbnails, but you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I'm so worried about this other stuff that I'm not that worried about my thumbnails. Do not do that. Yes, you need good titles and you need good tags, but odds are you've probably already heard that. And I want to be the person to tell you that you need great thumbnails. That the thumbnail is the reason people click on your video. The title paired with the thumbnail is the reason people click on your video. Again, I've done whole videos about thumbnail strategy. I recently did one that is one of my favorite videos I ever made. So I will link it wherever it flies. I think it flies across the screen right here. I'm on the left. Anyway, I'll link it here and down here. But thumbnails, 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 thumbnails. Pay attention to your thumbnail strategy and actually have a thumbnail strategy because it is so freaking important. All right, this video was way longer than I expected it to be honest, but I gave you lots of things. We talked about gear, we talked about strategy, we talked about mindset, we talked about software, and so hopefully this is truly the ultimate guide to everything you need to know to get started on YouTube. And I will leave everything I talked about, including other videos or content that I talked about, in the description below. And until next time, bye y'all.